I knew that was coming. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Fun, fun, fun.
Whatever happens next, I like that.
Okay, good.
Whatever happens next, whatever happens in the next, however long this takes us, that's a nice place.
Great.
A nice place.
I'm really pleased. So we had an idea about amp in a pedal type pedals. And they've been around for a long time, and basically they're meant to replicate the sound of an amplifier. Whether they do that or not, we're not here to say, but they're very popular.
We are here to say.
Okay, so...
But first, some housekeeping.
Indeed. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Also, a massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon.
Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. Also, please hit up That Pedal Show, thatpedalshop.com in the US.
Indeed.
If you want to buy some stuff and you live in the US, there's pedals and amps and accessories and stuff there. So please check out thatpedalshop.com.
Yes, and also thatpedalstore.com.
Yes,
thatpedalshowstore.com,
where you can buy all these things. As you can see, we're so well prepared, as usual.
Indeed. Right, so let's crack on.
Yeah, enough of that.
Enough of that stuff.
Stop marketing.
You guys just selling me stuff. Right, so amp in a pedal.
Yeah, amp in a box.
Amp in a box,
isn't it? Is what you would say.
Amp in a amp.
Lots of manufacturers have sort of pinned their flag to that mast over the years. Right. The idea being, what's the idea? Well, the sound of rock and roll that we love, days of yore, is, classic amps cranked, and they are usually Marshall Voxes and Fenders, handful of others, obviously. But in general, Marshall's Voxes and Fenders, cranked, impractical for loads of reasons.
Indeed.
What happens next? Effects pedals come along, overdrive pedals and stuff, which are designed to push those amps into even more lovely stuff. First overdrive pedals were, all about getting a bit more overdrive at lower volume levels so you didn't have to blow your ears off, or indeed enhancing the sound of that lovely cooking amp to new heights. Fast forward a few more years, and it's only a short step from going, well, actually, these pedals, to take a random selection of the probably hundreds available,
indeed,
are designed to, for better or worse, lesser or greater, richer or poorer, till death do us part,
something barrel, something blue,
sound a bit like the sound of that amp cranked.
Yeah.
Dan and I have always had a bit of a problem with it. Why?
Well, there's so much emphasis put on the pedal, and yet the amp is everything. So what's it being plugged into? How's it going to react with that?
Speaker.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
So we've got to the point, haven't we, where we're of the opinion that, there's only so much you can do. However, what you can do is you can shape the gain.
Yeah.
You can shape the basic EQ characteristic. You might even be able to affect some of the feel characteristic with the use of different components.
Yeah, and that's what we thought we'd give a go today. We've taken 3 amp in a box type pedals that sound great. We thought, well, if we just get a nice natural sounding overdrive like the ODR one, if we stick an EQ and a compressor with it, can we get those sounds out of that combination?
Yeah, so galloping to the question, which is, are amp-in-a-box pedals really just overdrive pedals
With some clever EQ.
with some EQ and touch and feel characteristics. Now, what we're not going to be talking about today is digital modeling. We don't really do that. It's not our area of expertise. We're certainly not massive fans of it. We like amplifiers and we like putting mics in front of them, and that's our world. That's what we understand. So that's the world in which we're going to stay today. We have chosen the 59 sound from ZVEX, which is modelled after a Tweed amplifier from the late 50s, probably 59 Bassman.
Right.
Glorious thing, possibly the most important guitar amp of all time ever. You can have the debate underneath. Listen to that in a minute. The Crossfire is really interesting. It's relatively new from Crazy Tube Circuits.
Yes.
And is a slight departure today because as you look at pedal cam there, the left-hand side is the amp bit, and it replicates a Fender black panel amp. It does a 3-way EQ, whereas this Fender black panel amp here has a 2-way EQ.
Okay.
No mid-control.
Oh, right. Yes, of course.
Yeah, so you get a bit of extra. The idea being that it offers some mods that might happen to, well, the right-hand side, which is a famous green mid-humped overdrive, and the left-hand side, which could be any number of Fender black panel amplifiers. You also get a headroom switch.
Oh, wow.
So it's essentially 4 or 2, higher power or lower power black panel type amp. Plus, which you didn't get on any of the traditional Fender black panel amps, and by that, what do we mean? We mean deluxe reverbs, super reverbs, twin reverbs, vibe reverbs, maybe.
Yeah.
We're in that world. None of those amps had a gain and a volume. They only had volume,
yeah.
which meant you had to crank it. Now, interestingly enough, one of our amps today is a Fender black panel amp, but we've got 2 amps. The other one is a Supro Blackmagic, and they're set pretty
neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say anodyne.
There you go.
It's a fairly neutral. Neither of them is overdriving particularly, and they're both set for want of a better description, kind of flattish. It's a nice sound, but nothing's really going into overdrive. It's not over, it's not loads of character, and there is currently no reverb. We might add some.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the last one, Wampler Plexi Drive, Daniel.
Indeed, the mini Plexi Drive. This was a really massive hit for Wampler, the original version, and then they did the deluxe version, which added another foot switches and some extra options. And they released the mini version of the Plexi Drive, which sounds superb, and it is meant to give you a flavour of that classic Marshall Plexi tone. And like what we heard in the intro, what I thought was really cool, you hear that top end, that Marshall-y top end that it added. I thought it did really well. So it's a classic for good reason. It is.
And we could have included
hundreds,
the countless other amp-in-a-box type pedals out there. And no doubt the comment section will be full of people going, oh, you idiots, well, this is much better than that, and that's much better than that, and that's much better than that. We're not really here to discuss that. We're here to discuss, once we dial in a sound that we like from either of these 3 pedals, can we replicate it using a standard overdrive pedal, some EQ up the front, and if necessary, some compression after?
Indeed.
Is there anything more interesting going on in any of these pedals other than a bit of gain, bit of EQ, and a bit of feel?
Yep.
What we hope is that rather than send you off down another rabbit hole of having to buy 100 amp-in-a-box pedals, you might be able to use stuff that you've already got to get closer to some of those tones.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will come up as we go through.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm particularly interested in the Crossfire, being a giant Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, and I do have a Strat in E-flat for that very purpose today.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah. That's the first time I've heard it when we played in the intro, so it'll be fun to get into it.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's start with the 59 sound then. And, have some strongage.
If you've never heard a cranked Bassman,
You haven't lived.
Try and make it one of your life goals.
Yeah.
To be honest, I hadn't really. I mean, I've heard him on record, and I've heard him, the legend, and you might hear Phil X playing one in a fretted Americana video.
Right.
But actually stood in front of one cranked. We've got a 212 version of a Bassman over there, which is slightly different because of the speakers. But oh my goodness me, we'll do that in another video. But all right, Dan, have a see how you like this.
All right.
I actually think that does. Obviously, if we had a Bassman here for comparison, we're not doing that today. If we had one here for comparison, you would hear the differences. But I think in the gain structure, hairy around the edge, in the way the mids are pushed, and in the way that the top end stays kind of all there.
Yeah. And yet there's something about it that doesn't stay together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like a tight thing. It's a little bit flubby around the edges. Yes. Yeah. It's lovely.
It's really, I like it a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I don't know what's in there. It makes a crackling sound when you do the boost knob. So it's obviously some transistor
biasing
overdrive-y thing going on there. Loads of headroom, as always, from ZVEX. Sounds killer. I'll give you a listen with the Strat sec. Exactly the same settings. I love it.
Great.
I love it.
Yeah. That's. I mean, it is. It sounds glorious.
So
this is going to be really interesting.
Okay. What we'll do then, if we start with the overdrive.
Yeah, let's hear the overdrive.
See if we can. I'll have a go first.
Yes.
So you play then, and I'll turn the boost off in the 59 sound, and we'll just see if we can match the overdrive characteristic to begin with.
Okay.
Go for it. Now, it might be because we've got the ODR1 in bass roll-off mode.
Right.
Could do with a little bit of extra bottom end, so I'll add some more bottom end in from the EQ.
Okay.
See how you feel about it. Where are you going to go from there then? Because what I'm feeling is this does happen in tweed amps. The bottom end is definitely squishier.
Yeah.
So it's either more gain or more gain pushed in the lower frequencies. What do you think?
So because we've got the EQ going to the front, what will happen is we're not shaping the overall sound, right? We're pushing specific frequencies in to the gain stage, so those specific frequencies will break up first.
Yeah.
Right? So hopefully, if I push a specific bottom end frequency, it'll start to flub.
It'll start to flub. Let's give it a go then. I'll give you another listen to the 59 sound on the Strat this time. Not a million miles off.
No, but there's still something fundamentally not quite there, is there?
Something about the way it's yeah, clearly something in the... Did you mess with the spectrum control on the ODR1?
No.
Give that a 10 o'clock and a 2 o'clock and just see.
All right.
See if that helps, because it does make a huge difference to spectrum control.
closer, but it isn't just EQ. There's something else going on. There's like that compression in certain frequencies. I want to add the compressor on the end.
Okay.
And see if we can fatten it up a little bit.
I tell you,
like
I'm
that.
hearing more bottom end in the definitely hearing more bottom end in the equalizer and ODR one.
Yeah.
So I think we've got that pushed a bit in order to get that.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things is because I'm trying to push those frequencies to saturate them a bit, and yet the 59 sound isn't that saturated.
No,
it's
not.
got that flubbiness, but it's still clean.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's something in parallel.
Yeah, right.
It's really interesting.
Well, you know, I don't know if this is the case in this particular pedal, but if you look at how certain overdrives work, the design means that the overdrive affects the frequency spectrum differently.
Yeah.
So in a tube screamer, for example, below a certain frequency, it's not overdriven.
Sure.
And it's a gentle roll-off. It's not a cut-off.
Okay.
So what would you be doing to the
Adding a very light compression.
with parallel or not? With dry? Well, let's see. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Better.
Yeah.
Better.
And it was still louder. So the compressor was adding a bit of. It was changing the high end frequencies.
Yeah.
So there was more high end coming through.
Yep.
And everything got a bit louder. So okay,
so
we can keep doing that all day. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marks out of 10 for that one. I would say 7.
Yeah.
7 out of 10 for that effort.
Yeah.
All right.
And bearing in mind, you know, you could choose a different overdrive pedal.
Indeed.
Given that you probably don't just own one.
Indeed.
Yeah.
This is just something that we thought was, you know, nice and neutral and sort of, I guess, not ampy, but you know what I mean? It's not, you know, it's braced up in a nice way.
And versatile. Okay, so it's going to be harder for the Crossfire.
Okay.
First thing we'll do is we'll turn the TS off.
Okay.
If we can call it a TS, the famous green mid-humped overdrive. And let's just...
Tube.
Moob Greamer. Let's see. So, of course, we've got the simulation of a Fender Black Panel amplifier going into a Fender Black Panel amplifier, but also the Supro, so that you're hearing a mix of the 2 amps. This is pretty interesting, I think.
Right.
So I've got to add some reverb, Dan. It's doing my head in having no reverb.
It's great.
Happiness.
Yep.
So that's you're hearing both amps there. So if we add the Crossfire in on top of that, and bear in mind this is just the amp part. I think that's super interesting because it's doing that mid-scooped, more bass, more treble. It's pretty good, actually. No overdrive yet.
No, okay.
It's a lovely clean sound.
Yes.
We can't really do that with the ODR one because it won't go that clean.
No.
So can we do it with the G7?
Okay. Yes.
So basically, you know, the EQ curve's going to be keep it up there, but scoop out some of that 4/800. You know, push the level a bit, maybe.
Okay.
Just to
see how close you get. Yeah.
Begin. There's still something unique about the Crossfire.
There is.
It's nice and clean. I think we still haven't quite got the EQ quite there. A bit more 100. If we had a 10-band EQ with more bands on it,
right,
we could be a bit more surgical in there, and I think we'd get closer.
Okay.
I'm having PTSD about doing the masking on this.
Just edit that whole bit and just put in.
Just watch the lights.
Minutes later.
Watch the lights. Watch the lights. Sorry, it's a manual operation to make the pedal that you're seeing light up. Okay, if we now add gain to the Crossfire.
Okay.
And this is in the amp only side. Remember. We still haven't turned the overdrive pedal on. It's going to get tricky.
Yeah.
So play for a sec, Dan, and I'll set up a sound with some front end overdrive in the amp, as it were, or indeed some amp overdrive.
Okay. Let me just check one thing. Just play for me. I'm going to bring the level of the EQ down so I'm not hitting into that gain stage as hard.
Yep.
Okay. So now that I'm not hitting the gain stage as hard, I'm shaping the sound before it hits the drive stage as opposed to pushing the gain stage. So if we now hear the EQ, I've turned the compressor off, so just EQ into the audio one.
Worth saying at this point, there's a headroom switch on the Crossfire, and it's now set to low headroom.
Okay.
So we've got probably some additional clipping going on.
Right.
Which is making it overdrive even more in those lower frequencies.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, I mean, you'd probably have to give it loads of that.
Yeah.
And just see if that would do the job. But
so we're not pushing all the frequencies in. We're just pushing those lower frequencies in, hoping that they will drive first, but leave the other frequencies clean. All right, great.
Let's see.
Right, play this again. We got closer.
Much closer, and actually the feel was pretty similar.
Really?
Under the old
Okay, very interesting. But isn't it amazing? Honestly, the tiniest shift in EQ.
But look at that
changes
EQ
everything.
now.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this going, well, how could you possibly bend the EQ? Well, you could get one of those programmable EQs. Source Audio do a really good one. And,
They do.
Free the Tone
Free the Tone
really
do
good
as well.
one.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, then, we'll invoke the famous mid-humped green overdrive.
Okay.
And just see, because there's not much we can do at that point, is there really? But,
No.
Other than up the overdrive.
How good is that?
I love that sound.
That's awesome.
There's two overdrive sides to the mid-humped overdrive.
Wow.
I'm a fan.
Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn this side off.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add that to these two.
And see what happens.
So there's our EQ, there's our ODR one, and there's our...
Yeah.
There we go. Give that a go. had to add a little bit of mid EQ back in with the graphic because the way that the TS is pushing into that, it's pushing those frequencies a bit harder.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same circuit pushing into this, because we didn't have the graphic is low, right? We're not pushing the circuit the same way. Yeah. I think I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10, actually.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. I'm going to give. I mean, the Crossfire sounds amazing. I'm going to give our effort an 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
I thought we did okay.
Did better than that than we did on the 59 sound.
Yeah.
Just as a final thing, I want to hear the tube screamery side on and off with no amp, without this side. Just as a it's not really relevant to the discussion, but.
It's very good.
Oh, mama. I'm a fan of that.
I knew you would be.
Yeah, sorry for those of you who don't like that kind of thing, bear with us. It'll get rockier in a minute.
Right, Plexi Drive. This is going to be interesting. Okay, let's just hear it. In contrast to what you just played.
Yeah, I will get some humbuckers in a minute as well.
Okay.
It's quite interesting. I'll turn the reverb back up and then we'll go down again.
All right.
It's different, but it's not a million miles away.
It's that sizzly, marshally top end.
The bristle.
Exactly.
It's more Jimmy, less Stevie, isn't it?
Yeah.
In this E flat world that we're in at the moment.
It sounds awesome. This is going to be interesting. Okay, right. So
I'll quit the Strat for a bit because we've heard a lot of that. We'll hear Dan's telly. I figure we should try some humbuckers with this Marshall.
Yeah. Good shout. I might actually do some P90 stuff as well.
You want to go first?
Sure.
I'll put this down actually. Trouble with Strats, you can just throw them on the floor. Not so easy with the old wonky headstock. It's interesting. There's more togetherness in the Plexi Drive sound. It's. What do you think? What were you thinking EQ wise?
There's that characteristic sizzle,
Yeah.
but there's a low end, and then there's like an upper mid thing that's not there, or there's a specific mid range frequency that isn't there. The ODR one sounds very thick in comparison.
Okay, we'll take some thick out then. Thick would be 800, 400.
Okay.
We'll add the top end. So the if you were EQing this on a desk, you know, you were mixing some music, you'd be adding in 10 to 12k for the air bit, right? Hairy air.
Hairy air. My hair.
And you hear a lot of that in a Marshall. Now, this EQ doesn't go up that high. 6.4k is the top
That's no good.
I can add. So keep going then. Tough.
Very tricky.
Let's add some overdrive. That's hard, man. Turn me into Michael Schenker.
I thought I had it for a second there, but no.
He had like
Yeah.
crazy cocktoir going on. Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna give myself a 6 out of 10 for that one.
Yeah, I barely scraped a 5. I don't think. Maybe a 5.5. That's harder.
Isn't it?
Interesting.
So interesting.
I mean, okay, you might be like yelling at the screen, duh. You know.
How would you yell at duh? Duh!
Yeah. The you know, the pedals clearly have their own internal EQ, clipping. Everything, the way the sound is shaped through the pedal is unique. So unless you've got those specific frequencies to play with, and if you had a parametric equalizer, you could probably get a lot closer. And you could certainly get closer if you were messing about with the characteristics of the shape of the overdrive.
Yeah. Well, I think what a lot of these designs are based around, they're actually based around the actual design of the preamp of the amplifier.
Some are, yeah. I think they've done that quite carefully in the Crossfire.
Yeah. Well, I had a quick look inside the 59, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's,
Does it use that long chip out of interest?
Don't think so. The PCB's side mounted, but it's all lovely through hell stuff. But anyway, a lot of them look at the topology of those circuits and work out what's going. And I think I would say that's a fairly conclusive thing, that it's not just about EQ.
Yeah.
There's other elements going on harmonically. If you listen to the 59, for example, you could hear how there were clean elements and how there were dirty elements in there.
Yeah.
Really fascinating.
It is really, really cool. I think to finish off, you ought to hear 2 cranked amps.
Okay.
I've just made a decision that we're going to do that.
Okay.
The first, we're going to turn the Supro off. The first cranked amp you're going to hear is the Deluxe Reverb.
Right.
And the second one will be something else that we'll decide in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
what an amp sounds like.
Okay.
You've been hearing pedals simulating cranked amps into amps that aren't cranked.
Okay.
Now we're going to hear a couple of cranked amps, and we'll see how we get on.
All right.
Fair?
Turn it up, baby.
Yeah, you don't need to. We don't need to do a stop-start. We can literally do it manually.
All right.
So Supro's going off.
Yep.
Goodbye, Daniel.
I really don't think we need that. I think that's it.
Nope. I want you to hear one more cranked amp.
Okay, all
Because
right.
I'm not sure you've even heard it. It was actually dying a bit under the Les Paul there,
Right.
which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Keep rolling, Hayden. Nope.
Okay. Well, okay.
I'll ease it up gently. It's on 9.5 out of 12.
We're actually doing damage to our surroundings.
If this, what I like is, it wasn't a cheap wah-wah that fell off the top.
God.
The top panel there. It was a Roger Mayer Bel Air wah-wah, you know, one of the most expensive wahs available.
But they're made from carbon fibre, so, you know.
But the good news is, did it drop on my Les Paul?
Oh, man. Yeah, right.
That probably shouldn't stay there.
Sure.
Okay. I'm in case close, my lad.
Yeah.
The sound of an amp
Doing its thing.
is not just the EQ and the gain.
No.
It's the speaker, it's the cabinet,
It's the transformer.
it's the resonance.
It's the, you know, it's the power stage giving up. It's all of those things.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think that sounded great at the end. It was way over. It was flubbing out. It wasn't. We're not saying that's like the best guitar sound in the world.
I thought the
Around about,
Deluxe sounded amazing.
I thought that about 4 sounded
Yeah.
really banging. So yeah, you're only ever approximating, aren't you? And I think then there comes into discussion this whole, well, you know, the Deluxe absolutely maxed out, was struggling to hit 100 dB 101.
Yeah.
That was way in excess of that.
Tell me about it.
Can you play that loud anymore? Probably not.
I mean, you absolutely can in certain situations, but you're not going to go into a pub where everyone's having a conversation and go, okay,
No.
Here's my Bassman.
No. So back to the top of the show, really. You know, these amp in a box pedals, even though we've only chosen 3 of many today, are there to simulate some of what you can expect from a loud amp. But there is nothing like it.
No,
there isn't. Absolutely nothing like feeling that shake in your bones. So simulate, emulate, go for the basic EQ curve, go for the basic gain structure, sure. But I think that's going to get out on a limb here, Dan. I think that's 40% of the story.
Yeah.
I think the rest of it is speakers, is moving your guts, is doing all that.
It'd be really interesting to hear the audio back, because that experience of being next to the amp when it's doing its thing, it puts you in a different headspace. I was quite comfortable with the Deluxe.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where that was just, there's nothing I could do.
Too much.
It was too much.
It was too much. It was nice about 4. Yeah, and you know, we weren't playing, certainly with when we had the pedals on, we weren't playing any quieter than we did when we had the Deluxe
That's really
cranked.
interesting.
The actual volume was not really much different. So. Anyway, I thought that was instructive and educational.
Indeed.
I'm seriously thinking about putting either the 59 sound or the Crossfire on my board. I really like both of those.
Yeah, I think they're wonderful. Fascinating. Well, thank you so much for watching. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Also, a massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon.
Indeed, thank you. If you go to patreon.com, look for that pedal show and sign up. Sometimes every month we do pedal giveaways. And on top of that, you get the VCQ podcast from Mondays as well, and some extra little tidbits here and there.
Indeed. A massive thank you to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed some merchandise, t-shirts and hats and strings and pedals and little vials of mixed DNA. It's all in there. It's all for sale.
That's how we predominantly fund this show. In addition, have we said That Pedal Shop yet?
We haven't said That Pedal Shop
Go to That Pedal Shop in the US, thatpedalshop.com, if you want to buy some pedals and amps and stuff in the US. And we should say thank you to our exclusive preferred retailers in the UK and Europe is...
Anderton's Music of Guildford in Surrey.
We're laughing because we normally do this the other way around. And our dear friends in Australia are...
Pedal Empire of Brisbane in Queensland. Hello to Matt and the gang out there. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for watching. Would love to know your experience. If you're using amp in a box type pedals and how you run them, let us know in the comments, and we'll see you on Monday for viewers' comments and questions where we can discuss all things.
Good stuff.
Indeed. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.